Welcome to Picks with the Professor, the sports betting show hosted by a real statistics professor. This is Major League Baseball for Tuesday, August 20th. Folks, you can see there on the screen with highlights, pulled out the last several weeks of data here, last 10 weeks, a lot of picks, of course. Between the top picks, we've been talking about this with the Dub Club, just FYI, the model is giving A, B's, or C's. The plus is what I like. So the A plus picks are the subset that I like. Just continuing to chug along. Folks, last week, if you were with us, was absolutely visible. Our worst week of the season. And that's the way it goes. Every week can't be profitable. Sometimes it's break even. But even after a dreadful week last week, you can still see how good things have been between the model top picks and the subset that I like. The show picks have gone great. If you've been watching here, play of the day, just kind of humming along here. So again, a dreadful week, and there's really no hiding that. But I mentioned this to our people over on Discord too. The previous worst week, the following 2 weeks, the top picks both went double-digit plus units. So you never know how it's going to play out. That doesn't guarantee anything. But as you can see, we have a long track record of success here. We have a long track record of success in football as well, which is right around the corner, folks. We have a special offer for you, free until September 1st. That QR code, the link in the show description, take you right there. A lot of benefits, details, projection notes for all games. It's going to be MLB and college football week 1. You will get all of that. A lot of benefits, a lot of fun over on the Discord chat. Again, check that out. Free until September 1st. But some quick reminders here before we get into a trio of games for your Tuesday night baseball enjoyment. Community rules and model information is available at pickswiththeprofessor.com/new. It is a player-based model. Ratings for the current roster. That's based off of trades, based off of injuries, based off of a lot of things happening. This is not to say the grades are what has happened so far. It's what we think based off the current product on the field today. The average grade's 100 higher, implies more runs. You'll notice that as you see the grades for the teams. We are projecting an average game. One game is unknown. Weird things happen in one games. So as we talk about these 3 games, we're going to give probabilities. And the idea isn't that I know what's going to happen in that one game. Anybody who tells you that is full of nonsense. And folks, I think it's why we've done so well here from day one, because we've built a system of transparency and honesty. And I'm just going to shoot you straight. Nobody knows what's going to happen in these one games, but by having a well-calibrated model, we can take advantage of the situation. The fact that the sportsbooks sometimes don't put out the best lines because they may not always be concerned exactly with assessing the probability correctly. They may be concerned about parlay liability, teaser liability. When you get to football, they may be concerned about if they hang this number, they know what certain groups are going to do and they don't want to expose themselves to different things. And so we can slide in and take advantage of that. So when we say a 55% winner, we mean we think they're going to win 11 out of 20, lose 9 out of 20. We don't know if they're going to win or lose, but we do know the prices that make things a good bet. Anything can be a good bet at the right price or number. When we give you those thresholds for every single game, run line, first 5, etc. here for baseball. But of course, as always, folks, take what you like and leave the rest. We're going to start off with the Brewers and the Cardinals here. Brewers and Cardinals both, really, 2 of the most confusing teams in baseball this season. When you look at the Cardinals, started off dreadful, looked really good here as of late, the last several months. Maybe taking a little bit of a step back here as of late. A lot of parity in baseball. A lot of teams have struggled to look good for the full season. The Brewers in a similar boat, and for a while it was pretty much just, hey, was Christian Yelich in the offense or not? They've actually still looked pretty solid on offense without him, but we have a full season's worth of data to look at and not just what's happened lately. I know the Brewers have been playing pretty well as of late, folks, but for me, this one boils down to the starting pitchers. Eric Fedde has been solid all season long for the White Sox, now coming over to the Cardinals via trade, 3.40 ERA, and folks, he's not that good. I like Fedde. I think he's an average pitcher. 3.40 ERA is better than average, but we look at the underlying metrics as we always talk about. Those are much more predictive, that 401 FIP, 411 XFIP. He actually projects more like 4.2. So I'm actually not even sure he's going to be able to keep up what he's been doing from an underlying metric standpoint this year. I project him closer to average. It's that I think he's a solid pitcher, whereas I don't think that about Frankie Montas. That 4.86 ERA is actually relatively realistic to everything else we've seen with his underlying metrics. And to me, that's the biggest difference. I don't trust either one of these offenses. Both of them at the drop of a dime, drop of a hat, drop of a whatever you want to drop, can get hot and look fantastic and start putting up double-digit runs game in and game out. And both can look disappointing and struggle to score 10 runs in a week. And you could see that on screen there with the ratings. Don't get stressed out about that. The difference between 95 and 101, there are a handful of teams in between here. It's really not much. It's rounding error according to the model. If I were to flip these two offenses, it would affect the probability about 1% or so. That's very, very close. We will see some differences in offenses later that's much bigger than this. These offenses are about the same, but Fedde's the much better starting pitcher. Both bullpens, again, pretty similar. Obviously, Devin Williams has been fantastic coming back for the Brewers, but really this all boils down to pretty much a coin toss type situation. Cardinals at home, better starting pitcher shifts all that from a normal 50-50 type game to Cardinals winning this according to our model 58% of the time. It makes minus 140 a good pick. Our threshold for this is minus 126. And again, all this stuff I'm reading off to you from my notes is available to every person on Dove Club. It's free right now, so you might as well sign up. The official pick for us here, Cardinals minus 125 is our pick. Total in this one, we're projecting 8.3. The current number I'm seeing is 8.5 juice to the under. I think the total's priced pretty well. It'll be a nice night, mid-70s, slight breeze in. I think the total's priced pretty well in the implied low eights, around 8.5. And really, again, just focusing on the fact that the Cardinals should probably be bigger favorites in this, closer to the minus 140, maybe even up to minus 150, minus 125. A great bet on the Cardinals. But as always, folks, shop around. Make sure you find the best price. Every nickel you save, every dime you save, every half run, every half point when you get the football can turn pushes to wins. It can turn losses into pushes, and that can help you. This is a long-term game, and the margins can be razor thin for losing and breaking even, not having to reload that bank account or that betting account. The difference between breaking even and profiting, be able to make those withdrawals, the difference between profiting a little and profiting a lot, it's not much, folks. Believe me when I tell you, from a mathematical standpoint, it's a nickel here, it's a dime there, can make a huge difference in your betting. You need to have multiple sportsbook accounts if you're doing this seriously. Doesn't mean you need 10. Just make sure you have at least 3 or 4 if you don't have one there yet. BetUS is a great place to look at. They are still doing 125% bonus on your first ever 3 deposits, $2,000 each. Again, if you do not have an account there yet, check out BetUS today.
BetUS, America's favorite sportsbook and casino. Live betting and racebook. We're celebrating 30 years with a historic offer. A 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits. Plus 10% gambler's insurance. Get started today. BetUS, where the game begins.
In 3 games for you here today. The middle one that we're going to talk about, Pirates at the Rangers, will be, of course, a hot one. It's August in Texas. Not 105-degree hot, but still hot enough, of course, to close that roof. The park plays pretty hitter-friendly. I'm not sure there's a good play on the total in this one, though. I think the best bet is going to be on the side here. Cody Bradford and Mitch Keller. This one is a couple things. It's about everything, but I think the most interesting thing about this game, when I look at the metrics, when I look at the grades, is actually the starting pitchers. And you might look at that and you might say, Professor, wait a minute. The starting pitchers get the same grade. Why is that interesting? I think it's interesting because the perception, I think, is that Keller's the much better pitcher, but I'm not sure that's true. He hasn't looked as good as of late as he did earlier on in the season. I'm not sure if it's wearing down. We have a handful of pitchers we're seeing that from, but kind of trending in the wrong direction. And folks, those underlying metrics we always talk about being the most predictive, in the low 4s now. His grade was more around 90 earlier in the season, and it's kind of trickle in the wrong direction. That ERA is close to 4. I think that's fairly representative. He projects in the low 4s. And I think people are kind of writing off Corey Bradford, but that 3.50 ERA, while that might not be exactly something he's going to be able to sustain, I think these two pitchers are very similar. And I think the perception is that Keller's the much better pitcher. I think the perception here is the Pirates, are not big underdogs because of the pitching matchup. And I actually think that's not what we should be talking about at all, because I think the starting pitching matchup is a wash. We've got the Rangers bullpen graded out much better than the Pirates, almost a full standard deviation better, including the top relievers, where the top relievers kind of look like the depth relievers. It's kind of everywhere you look, the Rangers relievers better than the Pirates. And of course, the offense is where we talk about bigger gaps in the last game. Here's a bigger gap. The Rangers better than average. The Pirates well below average. Of course, without Andrew McCutchen here, hampers the Pirates offense a little bit. And so kind of like we talked about in the last game, home team has an edge in a spot or two. In the previous game, it was just a starting pitcher. And here it's everything but the starting pitcher. We've got the Rangers winning this 61% of the time. We think this price should be out towards minus 160, into the minus 160s when you add juice. We're able to get the Rangers from minus 135 is the official pick. And again, all the official picks given a nice little summary for everybody on Dub Club. A lot of notes, a lot of details. So if you're a simple bettor or a more complicated bettor, I'm giving different styles of things to hopefully suit your needs. You can check that out free until September 1st. No reason not to again. But our threshold for this one, according to both the chart that I sent out and the notes, is minus 143. So even if you're only playing this at minus 140, you still got a little wiggle room on this one. The Rangers are a pretty good bet here in that they are the favorite. They are more likely to win. And we think they should be priced a little bit higher. So we're going to get back to Rangers here on Tuesday night. But folks, we don't always take favorites here, Mariners and Dodgers. And of course, if you see what I'm wearing, you kind of know where I'm going with this one, not bearing the lead. If you're new to the show, I've got jerseys and hats for like 20 different teams. So it's not that I am a Mariners fan as much as it is here. We're repping the team that we think has is the better bet here. Notice on this one, and again, I've already not buried the lead. We're already telling you we're on the Mariners here. Why we're on the Mariners? According to the model, they win 47% of the time. Folks, I'm telling you, I think the Mariners lose this game more times than they win, but it's not about who wins more. It's about the price. And folks, some of you might be a little reticent to that. I think the people who are probably reticent to that probably stop watching me after about the third baseball show because they don't like this argument. So I'm probably preaching to the choir here, but in case you need a refresher, in case you're new here, if we just think about it like this, even if you were to take the worst team in baseball against the best team in baseball, let's say it's the White Sox at the Yankees, there is a price where it makes sense to bet on the White Sox, even though we all would agree the White Sox are not likely to win that game. If I said you can bet $1 and if you win, you get to own an entire city, you would say, I'll risk $1 on that, right? No, you're never going to get that price, but anything is a good bet at the right price. This is not even that extreme of an example. We think this is close to a toss-up. Mariners probably win slightly less than 50% of the time, but we've got them at plus 133, makes it an A-grade model pick. The threshold for this being a good pick is plus 126 or better. Why are the Dodgers such big favorites according to the books, not according to the model? I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that the starting pitcher discrepancy, according to Sideline, is much larger than the books might realize. Bryce Miller, I'm not even the biggest Bryce Miller fan, in that I actually think he might be the worst of the 5 Seattle starters. Now we see that 91 grade, and if he's the worst, I mean, that just tells you how incredible the Mariners rotation is, how sad it is that they aren't running away with the division with this rotation. They've got some incredible starters. But as much as I say I think he's the worst, that's just because I like those other 4 guys a little bit better. He's still very good. I don't think he's as good as that 3.29 ERA. His ERA is deflated because he plays in the most pitcher-friendly ballpark for half of his games. But his underlying metrics still say his true kind of ERA, his true abilities, are still in the upper 3s. Whereas Walker Buehler, I don't think is anywhere near that. Yes, the old Walker Buehler was really good. Folks, we haven't seen that yet. Now, does that mean he's not going to show up here? No, we never know what's going to happen in one game, especially with guys coming back from injury. You never know when the flip switches. But he's had a couple starts back now from this injury, a couple starts, at the start of the season, coming back from the injury, the middle of the season, then got injured again, come back from this injury. He hasn't looked good at all this season, really, in any start, maybe 1 or 2, but it hasn't been very many. His 9 starts, that 5.58 ERA, that's not that unrealistic for how poorly he's pitched. His FIP is much higher than that. His xFIP's a little bit lower, but he has struggled. And yes, you might say facing this Mariners offense is the perfect cure for that. Folks, this Mariners offense isn't that bad. I know what we just saw from them. I know they had a weakish stretch where they looked absolutely miserable, but they're still a decent offense. You saw it on Sunday with them breaking out. Does that mean they're back? I have no idea. Teams go through funks all the time, and then they snap out of it at random times. We never know what's going to happen with regards to that, but this Mariners offense isn't terrible. And with the way Walker Buehler's pitched, I think it's not so much that it's fortunate for Buehler to face this Mariners offense, as I think it's fortunate for this Mariners offense that's still trying to find some footing to face a pitcher who's struggling now as much as Walker Buehler. I roster Buehler in a dynasty league. It's been very disappointing. I'm a realist with the players that I roster with my favorite team. We were just talking about this here recently over on Discord. And really the thing is, I think there's a massive gap between these starting pitchers. And the Dodgers offense is definitely better than the Mariners offense. Don't get me wrong there, but the bullpens are about the same. Yes, this game's in Los Angeles, but when you look at the Dodgers offense at this point, probably going to be without Freddie Freeman. I haven't heard if he's officially going on the IL, but that's what it sounds like's happening. They are getting some reinforcements with Edman acquired from St. Louis coming back, Max Muncy coming back, but they've still got a hodgepodge. I mean, you look at the names that the Dodgers have picked up here recently. They picked up Nick Ahmed, who's been cut from multiple teams for how poorly he hits the ball. They picked up Kevin Biggio, and then they've already since released him. They picked up Ahmed Rosario. They've since cut him. They're giving Kike Hernandez, everyday playing time back in kind of the middle of the lineup half the time, and he's a great utility guy, but not really an everyday player. Andy Pages has been kind of up and down and not very good. He's been batting in the middle of the lineup. This Dodgers team right now, this offense is being held together with Band-Aids and tape, and they still are good. Anytime you have Ohtani and Betts at the top of the lineup, you can do some damage. You don't need much else to happen. And of course, Teoscar Hernandez is still a very good hitter as well. But I think the Dodgers' edge on offense just is not that big relative to the gap between Bryce Miller and Walker Buehler. I'd much rather have Bryce Miller. We think this is close to a coin toss. So again, we're taking the Mariners plus 133, getting the thresholds plus 126. I'd say plus 125 or better. Makes it a smart investment in my mind. Weather will be beautiful in LA if you're out there and have a chance to get to this game. Mid to low 70s, slight breeze out. The projected total on this one, as you can see, 8.65, 8.7 when you round. Right now, the current total of 8.5. Again, as with all three of these games, not really a huge edge on the total. I think the side's the way to go. Got a couple of favorites, got a couple of dogs. The play of the day for Tuesday is a total. So if you like total plays, we've got that for you on Dub Club as well as First Fives as well. Again, join today. That QR code, the link in the show description, free until September 1st. You'll get some good baseball and some college football week 1. Why not sign up? Again, as always, we thank you for watching. We wish you the best of luck, and we remind you that you can eat your betting money, but we ask that you do not bet your eating money.